Hello, this is Lai. This presentation is about global GDP growth and forecast. First, this project is a research that dived into world GDP percentage growth by country of year 2019 and made forecasts about potential GDP growth in percentage in 2020 and 2021. I chose this topic because a gross domestic product, which stands for GDP, is the standard measure of the value added created through the production of goods and services in a country during a certain amount of period. As such, it also measures the income earned from that product or the total amount spent on final goods and services. GDP is one of the most direct and commonly used measurement of people's quality of life and economy performance. This research is aiming to show world's overall economic condition and analyze what are the existing problems and how can we improve in the future. The questions that this research is trying to answer include what is the GDP growth rate distribution look like on a world map? How is the global economy performance in year 2019, and how will the global GDP look like in the year 2020 and 2021? This presentation is trying to tell a story by looking into the GDP growth rate distribution of year 2019 and find out which regions or countries had fastest GDP growth or drop, and what are the causes of those, and what are the impacting factors that leads to the drop of GDP growth globally in year 2020. The data set we used is obtained from OECD database. All the pre-2019 data were removed as we want to narrow down the year to just 2019. Regional data such as Central Africa, East Asia, North America, etc. were moved to a separate sheet since it would impact the visualization by countries. Also, a calculated field positive growth was added in order to count how many countries are having positive GDP growth and how many countries are having negative growth. The entire data exploration process was relatively simple, as a lot of countries collect GDP data officially, and those data were provided by the government. Therefore, the dataset was not hard to get. I looked through Google and OECD database, and I decided to use OECD data as I have done some other projects using this database, so I am quite familiar with OECD database. And here, let's take a closer look about 2019 GDP percentage growth by country. In this map, the blue represents GDP growth rate above zero, while orange shows a GDP growth that's below zero. We can see that most countries are getting positive GDP growth in 2019 from year 2018, and overall, the world's economy is growing in 2019. And also, the data for Syria is missing because it is a war zone. Overall, the economy outlook in 2019 has a positive outlook. Asian countries, especially East Asia and Southeast Asia countries, are having the fastest GDP growth. Europe and North America, which compose of mostly developed countries, are having relatively low GDP growth since they already have a very high base, and they're also having a relatively stable positive GDP growth. However, when we're also seeing some negative GDP growth in Central and South America, Africa, and the Middle East. And more actions need to be taken in the future towards those countries. Now let's look at the exact numbers of positive and negative gross country count. We can see that there are 179 countries had positive GDP growth in 2019, while only 15 countries had the GDP drop. And also, if we sort the GDP growth by countries from the highest to lowest, we can see that Dominica has the fastest GDP growth rate of 9.4%, while Venezuela had the highest GDP drop of a negative 35%. However, a high GDP does not mean that the economy is doing well. Dominica actually suffers from high debt levels, which increased from 67% in 2010 to 77% in 2016. And in terms of Venezuela, according to Wikipedia, the problems of the significant fall of GDP is a result from an economy war and falling oil prices, international sanctions, and the country business elite. And crisis of the government say the cause is years of economy mismanagement and corruption. If we put the distribution of potential GDP growth of 2020 and 2021 and we compare 2019, we see that in the year of 2020, which is this year, most countries are expected to have negative GDP growth due to the impact of coronavirus. In year 2021, global economy is predicted to recover, hopefully, after this pandemic. As on this map, we can see more countries are showing a positive rate than 2009. Even more countries are showing a positive rate even than in the year of 2019. Middle East countries and the countries that are heavily rely on oil or based their economy on oil productions would experience it's expected to experience low economic performance due to the extreme oil price drop in the past 2 months. And here are the resources and references that I use for the data side and the reasoning. Thank you very much.